Battle of Stalingrad, approximately 12 minutes. Imagine an entire city turned into ruins, buildings destroyed, streets covered in snow, and soldiers fighting house by house, floor by floor. This was the setting of one of the most brutal battles in human history, the Battle of Stalingrad. Between 1942 and 1943, Germany and the Soviet Union clashed in a conflict so violent that it completely changed the course of World War II. More than 2 million people were killed or wounded, and by the end of this battle, the army considered the most powerful in the world suffered a devastating defeat. But how did a city on the banks of the Volga River become the turning point of the war? To understand that, we need to go back a bit. In 1941, Nazi Germany launched the largest military invasion in history, the invasion of the Soviet Union. The plan seemed simple in theory: attack quickly, destroy the Soviet army, and capture territory before winter arrived. At first, it looked like the plan was working. German forces advanced thousands of kilometers into Soviet territory. Cities fell one after another. Millions of Soviet soldiers were captured. But the Soviet Union was Vishal in size, and the Russian winter was as dangerous as any army. Even so, in 1942, Adolf Hitler decided to launch a new offensive. This time, the goal was not just territory, but vital resources, especially oil. To achieve this, German troops needed to push south. In their path stood an important industrial city, Stalingrad. Beyond its industrial importance, the city had enormous symbolic value. It bore the name of Soviet leader Joseph Stalin. For Hitler, capturing Stalingrad would be a massive political victory. For Stalin, losing it would be humiliating. Neither side was willing to retreat. In August 1942, the German Air Force began heavily bombing the city. Within days, much of Stalingrad was reduced to rubble. But something unexpected happened. The bombings destroyed buildings, but also created the perfect defensive terrain. Instead of fighting in open fields, Soviet soldiers began fighting within the ruins. Every building became a fortress. The battle turned into brutal urban warfare. Soldiers fought over staircases, hallways, and even individual rooms. Sometimes German troops controlled one floor of a building, while Soviet troops held the floor above. This kind of fighting became known as rat warfare, because soldiers hid in holes, tunnels, and debris to survive. The conditions were extreme. There was little food. Ammunition was scarce. Winter was approaching. Even so, Stalin gave a clear order. Stalingrad could not fall. The Soviets continued sending reinforcements across the only possible route, the Volga River. At night, boats crossed the river carrying soldiers, weapons, and supplies. Many of these boats were destroyed by German attacks. Still, the reinforcements kept coming. The city became a constant battlefield. One of the most fiercely contested locations was a tractor factory that had been converted into a tank factory. Even during combat, workers continued assembling tanks inside. Some tanks rolled straight off the production line into battle, sometimes without even being painted. But while the fight inside the city continued, Soviet commanders were preparing something much bigger. They knew German forces were concentrated in Stalingrad. They also knew the flanks of the German army were being protected by weaker Allied troops such as Romanian and Hungarian units. These forces were less equipped and less prepared. So, in November 1942, the Soviets launched a massive counteroffensive. The plan was simple and brilliant. Attack the flanks, surround the German forces inside Stalingrad, and cut off their supplies. Within days, the encirclement was complete. Around 300,000 German soldiers were trapped inside the ruined city. The situation became desperate. With little food, no fuel, and an increasingly harsh winter, German troops began to weaken rapidly. Hitler received requests to break out and retreat. He refused. He ordered his troops to hold their ground and fight to the end. The promise was that supplies would arrive by air, but that promise was impossible to fulfill. The German Air Force simply could not deliver enough supplies to sustain the army. As weeks passed, conditions inside the encirclement became catastrophic. Soldiers froze in their positions. Food ran out. Some units shared a single piece of bread among several men. Disease began to spread. Meanwhile, Soviet forces tightened the encirclement. In January 1943, the German defeat was inevitable. Still, Hitler promoted the German commander in Stalingrad, General Friedrich Paulus, to Field Marshal. This was not an honor. No German field marshal had ever surrendered. It was a message: fight to the death. But reality inside Stalingrad could no longer be with no food, no ammunition, and surrounded on all sides. TTs. The German army had no way to continue. On February 2nd, 1943, the remaining German forces surrendered. It was a massive defeat for Nazi Germany. More than 90,000 German soldiers were captured. Only a small number would survive captivity. The Battle of Stalingrad became a turning point in World War II. After this defeat, the German army never fully recovered its strength on the Eastern Front. From that point on, the Soviet Union began pushing westward, reclaiming territory and driving German forces back. 2 years later, Soviet troops would reach Berlin. But the story of Stalingrad still holds details that reveal just how extreme this battle truly was. During the fighting, Soviet soldiers adopted a simple but effective tactic: stay as close as possible to the enemy. This made it difficult for German artillery and airstrikes to operate without hitting their own troops. Each building became an isolated battlefield. One famous example was Pavlov's house. It was a 4-story residential building turned into a Soviet stronghold. A group of soldiers led by Yakov Pavlov defended it against constant German attacks. They fortified windows, set up machine guns, and dug trenches around it. For nearly 2 months, they held their position. Some accounts claim the Germans lost more men trying to take that single building than in entire campaigns elsewhere. This kind of resistance was everywhere. Every street, every staircase, every ruined wall could hide a soldier ready to strike. Snipers also played a crucial role. One of the most famous was Vasily Zaitsev, credited with eliminating dozens of enemy soldiers. Snipers created constant fear. A single hidden shooter could halt entire advances. Meanwhile, inside the German encirclement, things kept getting worse. Supply planes dropped crates, but many fell into Soviet hands or were lost in the snow. Airfields inside the pocket were under constant attack. At one point, German troops received less than a third of the food they needed. Some soldiers survived on frozen remains, including dead horses. The cold was merciless. Temperatures dropped below -20 degrees Celsius. Without proper clothing or fuel, many soldiers froze to death. Outside the city, Soviet forces kept strengthening their positions. The encirclement grew tighter each week. Eventually, the trapped German forces were split into isolated groups. Without communication or supplies, resistance collapsed. When the surrender finally came, Stalingrad was in ruins. Entire districts had vanished. Yet the Soviet victory had a massive impact on the war. For the first time, an entire German army had been destroyed and captured. The myth of German invincibility was shattered. Allied nations began to doubt Germany's chances. At the same time, Soviet morale soared. After Stalingrad, the Red Army launched continuous offensives. Historians estimate that over 2 million people were killed, wounded, or went missing. This included both soldiers and civilians trapped in the city. Today, Stalingrad, now called Volgograd, stands as a symbol of resistance and sacrifice. It proved that even the most powerful army can be defeated by determination, strategy, and resilience. In the frozen ruins of that city, the course of World War II changed forever.